Hello, I'm Father Bob Stokig, rector of Guardian Angel Cathedral, coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada with another of our reflections, this for the 27th week in Ordinary Time. We find ourselves in the lectionary in the middle of three parables in which Jesus is addressing the religious leadership of his time. The question arose about his authority from them. And this week's parable uses a familiar biblical image, that of a vineyard, also coupled with Isaiah. It shows us Jesus' own knowledge of the Hebrew scriptures of his time. In Isaiah, the focus of the vineyard is about some bad grapes being grown. But in Jesus' parable, it's about the people who run the place. His critique offers us some good fruit for our own reflection. As we think about our corner of the vineyard, we can use both Isaiah and Matthew to frame some questions for us to sort out for ourselves. First, are we sowing wild grapes in the world around us? Or are we nurturing the gifts God has given us? This Sunday also happens to be the feast of St. Francis of Assisi, so the care of creation in our Catholic theology could also be a great reflection just drawn from Isaiah. With the parable from Matthew's Gospel, we then also have to think about, do we listen to the message of the one who made the vineyard? What's our fidelity to God's will like in our lives? And we see the image of the only son being killed, reminding us of Jesus' own death on the cross. It is a parable that provokes anger from the people who listen to it. And Jesus' response to that anger is to come back and tell us that what he desires is mercy. So whether we think about Isaiah, whose world was being challenged by God because of their lack of care for the most vulnerable among them, or we think about Jesus' parable critiquing the leaders of his time for not listening to the voice of the one who made the vineyard, both places lead us into some deep reflection as we encounter these readings. I can't help also, in the western United States, think about all of the fires burning near the vineyards in the Napa and Sonoma valleys. We think about the many ways in which our world is really fragile. And as Pope Francis reminds us, we have an obligation, a duty by virtue of our baptism, to be stewards who care for that creation. So this week I invite you to think about all of those things. I hope you're keeping well. And while our numbers in Nevada have increased for the number of people who can attend church, we still don't have the capacity to be full. So for those of you whom we won't see for a while because of your own concerns about staying well, let us pray for one another as we continue to move through the lectionary toward the feast of Christ the King in just 6 or so weeks.